Hello and good morning. My paper's title is Social, Political, and Economic Change in Lowland Edom during the Iron Age. I will try to trace that change using the change in the settlement pattern in the region. I will start with this satellite image where you can see the highlands here of Edom and the lowlands of Edom where Khirbet Finan, Khirbet Nhas are located. You see here at the top Sarah, and you can see two contrasting landscapes, the high plateau and the lowlands. And these two sub-areas are separated by a rugged landscape, as you can see here, that makes the area difficult to investigate and gives false impression that the region was and is completely disconnected. The second slide shows the difference, the elevations difference between the high plateau and the lowland, the highlands and the lowlands. And you can see here that within 15 kilometers, the difference is about 1,200 meters. Again, that might be understood as, that rugged landscape that separates the highlands and the lowlands might be understood as a barrier between the two parts of Edom. But if we look closely, and as a result of our work, work in the area as a team of Edom Lowland Regional Archaeology Project, we were able to identify that most of the sites, all the sites were connected by a network of roads and tracks at the local level. So the sites in this area, the highlands and the lowlands, were connected. And as you can see in this picture here, you can see here the King's Highway going from north to south. And then we see the Red Sea Highway here, number 2, Red Sea Highway. And then we can see sub roads connecting the area with both highways, actually. So if you look here, we have one of the main connections is Nagab Dahal that connects I don't know if you can, yeah, okay, that connects the King's Highway with the Red Sea Highway. And if we go further to the west, to Hatziva, so it connects with the Mediterranean, but that will be clear in the other slide. Actually, it will be clear in the other slide. Then we have number 4 here, Nagab Dana, that connects again that connects Dana and of course the Red Sea Highway, or Wadi Araba if you want, highway with the King's Highway. And then we have Nagab al-Faid, number 5 here. And again, it connects both highways, and additional connections are number 6 here, Nagab al-Weba and Nagab al-Jariya. So we can see here the regional connection. We've talked about the networks connecting the sites with each other, and then another slide showing that the region has been connected to the east with the King's Highway, to the south, to the west and the south with the Red Sea or Wadi Araba Highway, and through these, and we have these connections to the Mediterranean and to Egypt. And of course, through this Red Sea Highway, we have a connection with the Red Sea itself and with Northern Arabia. So obviously, the area, despite that look of this connection, the area was very well connected with the main communication routes between in southern Levant in general. The Finan area was, since the beginning, since its early history, Finan area was identified as an industrial landscape. The availability, the presence of copper ores in the area attracted inhabitants since early history. Not only in the Iron Age, but much before. The earliest evidence for mining goes back to the Neolithic period. Of course, there was no copper production, no smelting at that period, but people were collecting those beautiful stones, malachite, and they were making jewelry with them. They were making beads. They were making beads and probably mineral pigments and so on. These ores are embedded in the Barce-dolomite shale rocks, and we can see these rocks here with that color, and then secondary you can see here with the star here, and then we have secondary mineralization of copper within Ashrin Archeological sandstone, as you can see here. The area here is we have outcrops, we have granitic outcrops here, and of course we have Holocene and Pleistocene terraces, as you can see here, next to the south of Wadi Finan, and you can see Wadi Finan here, and you can see Wadi Web here, and some of the sites marked as circles here. Because of this richness of sites, Finan area attracted the attention of many explorers since long time, since the last century. I'm not going to name all the expeditions to the area. I would focus on 3 major expeditions. One of them is Wadi Finan Landscape Survey, and you can see Wadi Finan, and you can see different sites located within that project. In our project, in our Edom lowland regional archaeology project, we also conducted surveys, major surveys in the area. One of them was conducted in 1998, Wadi Fidan survey, and this survey continued in continued in 2004. And then we conducted a survey at Wadi Ghwayba and Wadi al-Jariya in 2002. And then the upper reaches of Wadi al-Jariya were surveyed by our team in 2007. As a result, many sites had been identified. As you can see in this picture, you can see Wadi al-Fidan. That's the early survey of Wadi al-Fidan. Rujum Hamra al-Fidan is here. This is Wadi al-Fidan. Khirbat Hamra al-Fidan is a major site. Its number here is 120. Then we have Rujum Hamra al-Fidan, and then we have some other sites. And here I'm specifically showing the sites that showed traces of Iron Age occupation. So these supposedly, you understand the restriction, the limited information we can have from surveys, but these sites supposedly have been occupied during the Iron Age. I'm showing only the sites that been occupied during the Iron Age. I mentioned already Wadi Ghwayba. You can see Wadi Ghwayba here. Wadi Ghwayba had two tributaries, Atshana and Wadi Ghwayba Ghani with Ain Ghwayba. And then we have Wadi al-Jariya. You can see the survey of Wadi Ghwayba and Wadi al-Jariya. And again, the sites shown in the maps here are Iron Age sites, or at least either pure Iron Age sites, or they show some evidence of Iron Age occupation. Again, this is Wadi Fidan. We continued the survey in Wadi Fidan, and you can see more sites had been identified in this area during our survey. And these are the upper reaches of Wadi al-Jariya, and more sites had been identified. So totally 271 Iron Age sites had been identified, and these sites were clustered in 3 areas. You can see here the area of Finan, and then you can see Wadi Ghwayba and Wadi al-Jariya, and this is Wadi Fidan cluster. Sites are different. Some of them are settlements, including Khirbat Finan itself here, Khirbat Ghwayba, Khirbat al-Jariya, and Hamrat Fidan, as you can see here. Some pictures of these sites, as you can see here. This is Khirbat Finan, and then here we have Khirbat al-Jariya. This is Khirbat al-Nahas, and this is Khirbat Ghwayba. Some fortresses had been identified, including at least 3 fortresses, major fortresses. One of them is Khirbat al-Nahas fortress. As you can see here, it is one of the biggest fortresses in southern Levant. It measures about 73 meters by 73 meters. You can see here the gatehouse of the fortress. And then we have 2 other fortresses at Khirbat al-Jariya, at Wadi al-Jariya, Ras al-May East and Ras al-May West. And this is the plan of the fortresses, Ras al-May fortresses. That's the other, that's the Ras al-May West. And you can see, if you look at the profile here, you can see the mines are concentrated in this area. That's supposedly the rock that contains copper ore deposits here. You can see the fortresses were specifically, probably specifically built to defend or to protect the copper mines. Of course, we know that Finan was known as industrial landscape, so we expect to find many copper mines there. And you can see there is again concentration of copper mines in Wadi al-Jariya and Wadi al-Ghweba, and there are more mines in Wadi Finan and Wadi Dana. Some of the mines, you can see some of the mines. This is known as the triple shaft. 2 shafts were from the Iron Age, and the third one was from the Roman period. So the Romans were trying to reopen the mine. This is again, you can see the copper ore deposit here within the dolomite limestone shell unit. More of these copper ores here. Of course, we have smelting sites, and that's what makes Finan different and unique. We have the whole chain of production, the whole production chain preserved very well in the area, including the copper mines to copper smelters to towns and so on. So we have the smelting sites, and again, smelting sites. You can see some of the smelting sites. Some of them are close to the copper mines, but some of them are far away from the copper mines, and you can see in this picture, because they require different environments. Smelting require different environment than mining. You can see the slags here. We have this about more than 5 meters slag deposit. You can see some of the houses where actually they rest on top of the slags. We've noticed that there are different, you can see different layers of slags. These are finely crushed slags. And then we have here disruption, and we have another kind of slags that indicates different technology, more advanced technology. The rougher the slags, the more advanced is the technology. And again, I want to draw your attention to this thing here. You can see the house rest on this building here rests on about 4 meters of crushed slags underneath. Here we have funeral monuments in Finan. In this area, you can see different funeral monuments. And in Finan, we have actually the unique burial place that contains more than 500 burials. So it was a formal cemetery, and it was dated to the 10th century. So we're talking about the Iron Age. Some of the tombs had been excavated, probably 250 had been excavated by our team. And you can see the cists here surrounded by stone rings, as you can see here. We have rectangular features that might be interpreted as funeral monuments or houses. More work needs to be done in that area. And then we have circular features also that might be attributed either to enclosures or to funeral monuments. Rock shelters that again indicates that nomadism was there. So some nomads were living there probably. And then we have campsites, probably to accommodate either some nomads, some nomadic population who was involved in this work, or to accommodate the workers who were working in smelting and mining in general. We have some scutters, with shares and different, so probably that, some temporary campsites there. Again, if you look at the sites identified in the area and that were dated to the Iron Age, you can see the clusters, you can see the sites. And if you look here, we have nothing from the late bronze. Actually, that doesn't mean that late bronze doesn't exist in the region. In small in Khirbat and Has actually, and probably Wadi Khalid and probably Finan, we have some indication that the late bronze is there, but unfortunately, the excavated area, especially in Khirbat and Has, doesn't exceed the size of 2 square meters. So we cannot talk about, and we have some C14 dates from the late bronze, very late in the late bronze, but we cannot, it's difficult to interpret what we have there because of the limited area of excavations. Probably more research in the area will show more, will show more of the late bronze in the area. We have some drone pictures of Khirbat al-Jariya. I will show you. This is Wadi al-Jariya. We are looking northeast. So you can see Khirbat al-Jariya. It's quite big sites, about 5 hectares probably. Unfortunately, the central part of it had been eroded completely by the Wadi al-Jariya, as you can see, and you can see the heaps, the slag heaps are located, and of course the archaeological remains are located in both sides of this wadi. We are looking at the eastern part of the site, the wadi there in the center, and there are more slag heaps and more archaeological ruins to the west of the wadi. We worked there during 2 seasons, and the results had been published already. So again, this is Wadi al-Jariya. And this is Khirbat and Has. This is the fortress of Khirbat and Has. As you can see, I already mentioned that it is one of the biggest fortresses in southern Levant, in our region at least. You are looking at the gate here. We are looking at the gate. It is basically an enclosure. You can see the walls. The exposed height is about 1.5 meters, and the width is almost the same. And judging by the amount of rocks lying on both sides of the wall, probably that wall was not less than 4 meters or 5 meters high. These are later buildings. We know that the fortress had been built during the 10th century. It went under some reconstruction during the 9th century, and we know that people during the 9th century, the inhabitants started to smelt inside the fortress, as you can see here, and you can see in this area slag heaps here. So there were some activities in the 9th century inside the fortress, which means that the fortress had been decommissioned during the 9th century. Yeah, more of the خربة النحاس, just to show you some different areas of our excavation. This is area R, this is area S, and this is area T, and in the back there is area W. So we worked there for 3 long seasons. Yeah, this is area M with the slag heap. I mean, with that profile, more than 5 meters of slag deposits there. More than 125 structures had been identified. We excavated only 4 of them or 5 of them in 5 different areas. So more work can be done there in the future. And I already mentioned that the late bronze deposits, according to the C14 dates, of course, late bronze deposit we exposed in one very limited area. That probably can be done in the future. Because of the limitation of time, I would go directly to the conclusions. I will read them for, just fast. Total of 271 Iron Age sites had been documented in the region of Finan. That would include settlements, mining and smelting sites, agricultural field systems, funerary installations, rock shelters, and others. Iron Age 2 was the time of social, political, and economic change, and understanding how organization of copper industry may have facilitated the development of the agricultural system, and increasingly complex political structures is a key issue. A more complex industry necessitates more complex agroeconomy and more complex political and social structure. The production of copper revolutionized the socio-economic and political structures. The advancement in societies depended greatly on technical inventions and innovations. 5 socio-technical systems were identified based on efficiency and the absence of fortifications. High and low chronology of Cisjordan cannot be applied to Transjordan. Both archaeological record and textual evidence support the high chronology of Edom. We argue that an unitary model for Iron Age transition from Iron 1 to Iron 2 is not applicable in Finan, and individual histories of Iron Age 2 is a possible alternative scenario. Without going into details, which are available in our final publication, the stratigraphy of the sites is as follows. pre-copper production phase directly on the bedrock, exposed in a limited in size deep trench in area M. The archaeological remains are limited to some architectural remains, partially exposed. The nature and the function of this installation is obscure due to the limited exposure. This phase was dated to the 13th century BCE. Intense copper production activities associated with big quantities of crushed slags exposed in all excavation areas except area F. This phase was dated to the 12th, 10th centuries BC, and then leveling of the site using the finely crushed slags and building of monumental structures, RT, and the fortress, all dated to the 10th century BC. Decommissioning, the next phase was the decommissioning of the fortress and the monumental buildings dated to the 10th century BC. Some entrances to the fortress and the monumental structures were completely blocked or altered. Smelting activities started to take place inside the gatehouse and in the courtyard of the fortress. Domestic units and workshops, or a combination of both, were built at this site. Thank you.